Hey everyone, I'm Belle Reid, and welcome back to another video. So I've been borrowing this instrument that's here next to me, the Buchla Easel Command, for a little while now from a friend. And I've really been enjoying experimenting with different ways of incorporating this instrument into my improvisation, performance, and compositional setup and workflow. I recently published another video using the Easel Command, connecting it to a Granular glitch sampler patch inside of Max MSP. And I also talk a little bit more about the Easel Command and how it works in that video. So if you're interested in checking that out, I'll leave a link in the description below this video. So as you may know, in addition to playing electronic instruments and synthesizers, I am also a trumpet player. So one of the things that I have yet to try with the Easel Command is connecting it into a live performance setup that also involves my trumpet. So that is the goal and the plan for today. There are a number of different ways to bridge from the external acoustic world over into the synth world. And commonly when I'm connecting my trumpet or any kind of external acoustic audio source to my synthesizer, I often like to use my laptop computer as a kind of central hub, typically running a program in Max or some kind of similar program like that. I often use the Expert Sleeper's ES8 as an audio interface to connect between my trumpet and my modular synth. But in this case today, the Easel Command actually has MIDI inputs built directly into the instrument. So I'm not going to use the ES8, I am just going to plug my computer directly into the Easel Command. Okay, so before I get too deep into things, I just want to take a moment here to talk a little bit about this trumpet that I have. This is a double bell, as you can see, quarter tone C trumpet. Now, commonly what people think when they see this is that you're able to produce two tones at once with each bell. But actually, the way that it works is that there is a rotary valve here on the back of the horn that switches the airflow from the top bell to the bottom bell. And so what you're able to do is play the same pitch on one bell and then divert the air and play that pitch on the second bell. Now you might be wondering to yourself why that would be a useful thing if you only get to hear one at a time. And that's a very good question. You can put mutes into either both bells or just one of the bells, and then this rotary valve switch becomes kind of like a timbral trill tool that you can use to very, very quickly go from an open sound to a muted kind of metallic sound on the trumpet. Now the other thing that's unique about this trumpet is that it is tuned in quarter tones. So it plays 24 notes an octave rather than the more typical 12 notes per octave that you commonly see in Western instruments. All right, so I'm gonna put this down for a minute here and talk a little bit more about what's going on with the rest of my setup. So in order to connect my trumpet over to the Easel Command, I am using an application that was built in Max MSP, running on my computer, that's called the B400V. Now, this is a very still in progress and experimental app that Ryan Gaston and I have been working on for quite some time now. And it has been inspired by the design and the workflow of the Buchla 400, the Touché, and the Buchla Thunder. So these were two instruments and a controller that were designed by Don Buchla in the late 1970s, early 1980s. Now, when people often think about electronic instruments made by Don Buchla, most commonly they think about the larger analog modular systems. Now, the Touché and the 400 are pretty unique from these because they are self-contained, smaller instruments that pull from different aspects of the modular synthesizers that Don created, but they also incorporate digital control and digital sound generation. This allows the instruments to be much more consolidated and compact, and also to do some pretty cool things like enable preset storage. Two of the coolest things about these instruments is that they have a really unique audio signal flow, and they also allow you to get really deep in the way that you define how the user interaction connects to the sound engine. I'll leave a link to an interview with Don Buchla about the Buchla 400 in the description below this video, so you can check that out if you're curious and want to learn more. So this app is very loosely based on these instruments. Ryan and I have always wanted to work with the 400, the Touché, and the Thunder, and so far we have never had the opportunity to do so. So this app kind of just emerged as the result of our curiosity and our desire to learn more about how these instruments work and how they were designed. Now, I will mention up front here, because I'm sure some of you will be curious, that at this point the B400 app is not publicly available. It's still very, very much a work in progress and a constantly ever-evolving exploration for us. Okay, so this patch that's running on my computer can be triggered using a MIDI controller, or it can also be set up to receive external audio as a trigger, and that's what I have set up today. So I'm running my trumpet into my computer, and then the application is going to attempt to track the incoming pitch and timing and use that in order to generate MIDI information, which is going to send over to the Easel Command. Now, to be completely honest, the pitch and timing tracking from this app is not terribly accurate, but for my purposes, it works great. And I actually love the fact that it introduces a little bit of unpredictability into things because it doesn't track super precisely. As an improviser, I find that really inspiring because it actually gives you something to respond to, and it seems a little more like the app is listening to you and then kind of responding and giving you something back rather than just copying and tracking directly. The patch that I have set up here on the Easel Command also uses a lot of unpredictability and randomness. I am randomizing both the attack and the decay of the envelope. I'm randomizing the modulation depth of the modulation oscillator, the pitch and the timbre of the primary oscillator, and a few other things. So basically, every time I play a new note on the trumpet, it's going to send that audio into the app on my computer, which is going to create some MIDI information, send that over to the Easel Command, which will generate a new gesture on the Easel Command. All right, cool. So every time I make a new sound on the trumpet, we hear a new sound on the Easel Command. That's pretty cool, and it's nice that that link is so immediate and so obvious. But it would be nice as well to sometimes have something that is not quite so one-to-one. So in order to explore this, we have something inside of this B400V app that we refer to as a MIDI effect generator. And this was inspired by the Buchla Thunder MIDI controller. So basically what this allows you to do is to generate a string of multiple gestures from a single input trigger. So when I have this dialed up here, every time I make a sound on the trumpet, it will generate a whole stream of gestures that are going to have a random contour and duration instead of just a single gesture. So this gives me something a little more interesting to react to while I'm improvising. All right, so finally, I think it would be nice to layer in a little bit of sound from the B400V app itself. This is just going to give me a little bit more texture and timbral variety to work with, and of course, a few more layers of depth and sound. So to stick with this theme of the day, which is randomness and unpredictability, what I'm doing here is taking some different parameters of the synthesized sound from the B400V app, like the frequency, the filter cutoff, the timbre, and I'm going to randomize those parameters with each new onset, or in other words, with each trigger that's received from my trumpet. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching and listening. If you're curious to learn more about the B400V app, there is an extended walkthrough of the app with myself and Ryan Gaston over on my Patreon page, which is patreon.com/SarahBelleReid. I'll also leave a link below this video in the description. Also over on Patreon is an audio download of all of the music that came out of today's session. So if you're interested in that, you can hop over there and download that as well. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.